So thank you so much for the kind introduction. And like Dr. Thanawala said, now she has conceived Badai Ho, Mithai Lao. And that's where I'm going to begin. I'm going to give you a little bit of scientific evidence. I know most of you are convinced on scientific evidence, but I'm also going to tell you how do you change the way patients think. So we know that achievement of pregnancy, you require maternal health, well-being, a healthy newborn baby, but more importantly, welfare of the mother to nurture the newborn adequately. And we know that nutrients that are introduced in maternal biological system has a potential to influence both maternal health during pregnancy and fetal health. And that's why nutrition is always important, but more so ever in pregnancy because it just does not impact the fetal health, but also it impacts maternal health. So, every fetus carries his or her blueprint for development, but the potential of this blueprint is only realized if there is an adequate supply of nutrients, energy, substrates to meet sufficient enough to meet the fetal demands. Hence, the patterns of the demands for energy and nutrients are placed on mother at each stage of pregnancy. And mother, of course, is solely dependent on her diet to meet these needs. And hence, maternal nutrition becomes so very important and critical. So now another aspect now which has been seen is metabolic programming is a phenomena whereby altered nutritional experience overlapping with a critical window of organogenesis during early period in the life by permanently modifying metabolic processes in organisms predisposes to adult onset of diseases. And that's why actually now also, I mean, lot of mothers are aware as well that what should I do, that if I had PCOS, what is there something I can do that if I have a daughter, she will not have PCOS when she grows, when she becomes an adolescent. So we know this. This is a very beautiful slide that mother's nutrient and diet stores, mother's ability to mobilize these nutrients and supply line to the fetus, uterine blood flow. If mother is unable to supply the nutrients, then we have inadequate building blocks in case of fetus. So we have reduced nephron number, or we have altered zonation in the liver, or we have decreased beta cell reserve, or decreased muscle cells. So that's why we have sarcopenic obesity as described by Dr. Yagnik, so on and so forth. Which will lead to hyperlipidemia, hypertension, central obesity, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and coronary heart disease in these fetuses when they grow up. And this effect is not only over one generation. So it is intragenerational, and we find that nutrient mediated teratogenesis and fuel mediated teratogenesis actually has an intragenerational effect. So if the mother is malnourished, so will be her daughter, and so will be the granddaughter, and therefore it is very, very important to intervene and feed the parent mother well. Now also there is some few another things. Epigenetics refers to inheritable changes in gene expression that are driven by extracellular stimuli and mechanisms that act on DNA without changing any DNA sequences. And maternal suboptimal nutrition will lead to a range of physiological and cellular adaptive responses in key organ system, and therefore must be retained memory for environment early in the life. And therefore there are a lot of foods which will cause epigenetic changes in DNA methylation. So we know more specifically nutrients like B12, butyrate, etc. play a role in DNA methylation, histone modification, non-coding microRNA, which will lead to all these endpoints in the fetus when the fetus becomes adult. Now with that, we go to the basic nutrition in pregnancy. So calories. Now this is a woman who had PCOS. So she is used to eating less. And that is what the question put to me was that if I eat so little, what will happen to my child? Bachcha bahut chota ho jayega. So individualization is very important when determining energy requirement, and adjustment should be made on weight change pattern. Energy requirement during pregnancy includes normal requirement of the woman plus additional calories for fetal growth plus increase in body weight during pregnancy. Very important to remember is energy requirement only increases during second and third trimester and not in first time trimester. So हमारे इधर तो problem ये है कि बधाई हो बोल के first trimester से people start overfeeding, and it is not lot of times, and this is something I see at my work. Lot of times it's not the woman who wants to eat, but the family pressure is so huge that they are watching that woman like a hawk, whether she is eating and what she is eating and how many morsels she is eating. And therefore it becomes very important not only to counsel the woman, but more importantly to counsel her family, mother, mother-in-law, and husband. I typically always tell the family that she is just pregnant, she is not terminally ill, so stop treating her like that. uh, Energy intake should be adequate enough to, for appropriate weight gain. As per ICMR, guideline, for an average weight gain of 10 to 12 kgs, an additional 350 kilocalories per day is required in second and third trimester. Although, while saying that it's only recommended in second and third trimester, we just give sufficient calorie to sustain adequate nutrition for mother and fetus to avoid excessive weight gain and postprandial hyperglycemia. We know women with PCOS are very predisposed to GDM, and their postprandial blood sugars are really a problem rather than fasting blood glucoses. And the reason is coming up. What is the reason? But reason being big meals, elaborate meals. Although that is not good, severe caloric restriction is also not recommended. So we are not here looking, while overfeeding pregnant women is not a good idea. A lot of pregnant women don't eat enough to look a certain way because they want to look very, very lean. So severe caloric restriction is not recommended, as it may lead to ketonemia and ketonuria that may impair physical and mental development of the offspring. So these are ICMR guidelines. But what is very important is this tagline: not eating for two, but eating twice as well. So if you look at it, this is a normal energy recommendation for a non-pregnant women in the same age, in the reproductive age, 19 to 50. And this is for pregnant women. And you will see there is just 2 cereal exchanges which have increased. From 6, it has become 8.5. One protein exchange which is increased from 2.5, it becomes 3.5. That's it. So एक रोटी ज्यादा खानी है और एक कटोरी दाल ज्यादा खानी है. इससे अलावा you don't have to do anything much. So you don't have to go there and eat for 2 people. Anyway, even if you decided to eat for 2 people, remember that fetus is not even 3 kilograms. So even if the fetus wanted to eat, wouldn't eat more than 1 roti. So try not to eat more than that. Okay. So if there is gestational diabetes, then the caloric intake is 35 to 40 kilocalories per kg for underweight, 30 to 35 for normal, 25 to 30 for overweight, and 23 to 25 for very obese patients. I'm sorry. Now, what do you do in real life? In real life, you take recall and calculate net intake of calories. Ask for pre-pregnancy recall. What was the patient eating pre-pregnancy, rather than just talking about how much to eat. Note the weight gain and USG also, because you will know how is the fetal weight gain. Weight gain is more than advised, and caloric intake is high. Postprandials are mismanaged. Drop calories from junk foods, sweet, excess of fruit and fruit juices. Fruit juice is like a trend. People feel एक glass संतरे का juice पिया तो सारे पाप धुल गए. It is not like that. So what happens is postprandial sugars go up because of these juices, and weight gain starts, and that's a very, very problematic thing. Now, what we recommend is 50 to 60% calories from carbohydrate, 10 to 20% from protein, and 25 and 30% from fat. And we just use basic meal planning principles to plan these diets. There is nothing different than what we use for other healthy people. So we advise mixed meal containing carbohydrate, protein, fat, eaten together so that the sugar rises slowly and weight gain is not a problem. Now, just coming on to carbs, I was saying that all postprandial sugars rise in our Indian women. The reason is this is what our Indian women eat all the time. Upma, shira, idli, dosa, puri, खिचड़ी, और कुछ नहीं तो फर्स्ट ट्राइमेस्टर में बहुत नौशिया होता है तो दही चावल. So then what happens is your blood sugar postprandially goes for a toss. And we know this is a recent study, 2018, which was published in Lancet, and it's a data from a lady called as Sarah Siddleman, and she interestingly has shown what is the relationship of carbohydrate intake to mortality. It's nothing to do with pregnancy, but one has to remember that you have to be alive to have a baby, and you have to be alive to look after the baby. So what it has been shown is, if higher carbohydrates are taken, more than 50% of calories, there is high mortality. If lower carbohydrates are taken, less than 40%, also there is mortality. So remember, what the kind of diet that we want is with 50% carbohydrates and nothing more or less. So therefore, amount, type, and frequency of carbohydrate in every meal is important, because it will influence both weight and blood sugar readings. And therefore, all these are carbohydrate containing food, and please make your patients aware about them, because patients feel only good shakkar and honey has carbohydrate, rice and potato has carbohydrate, everything else is sacrosanct. It is not. All foods have carbohydrate. Anything that grows in a vegetable form or vegetarian form all has carbohydrate. So high carbohydrate you will have large for gestational age baby, excessive weight gain during pregnancy, and in case of GDM, just unnecessary use of insulin, because women cannot keep away from carbohydrate. Suboptimal will cause smaller babies, and there hence optimal carbohydrate is required, and about 175 grams of carbohydrate should be given, at least that much should be given in pregnant women, with breakfast, lunch, dinner equally distributed in all meals. So this is something which is very important. These are just recommendation. Now the next nutrient, and my most favorite nutrient, rather most favorite nutrient of all dietitians, protein, because it's favorite, only thing which is favorite is what you can't get. So which dress do you like the most? The designer you can't afford. Similarly, proteins Indians don't eat, so dietitians love them. So protein RDA for pregnancy is a gram per kg body weight, and in third trimester plus 23 grams for the growth of the fetus. But you will find that in India, or everybody, including you and me, eat only 0.6 gram per kg body weight of protein. That is enough for a CKD patient. So especially in pregnancy, if this is something that you need to tell all your patients, or I would say all the women who come to you antenatally, that let them eat enough protein in every meal, because it increases satiety. Also, in morbidly obese patient, it will help to manage caloric intake, because it increases satiety in every meal. Now, what are practical tips? Indian pregnant women do not enjoy protein. That is the fact, especially vegetarian. दाल खाया गैस होता है, स्प्राउट्स खाया गैस होता है, दूध अच्छा नहीं लगता है, दही खाया कोविड होता है. That's the new thing, because सर्दी हो जाती है. So Indian pregnant women, especially pregnant women, do not, vegetarian ones do not eat. They complain of bloating, gas with dal pulses. Solution, all dietitians give recipes. They tell them what they can do to avoid this gas. Non-vegetarian women actually love protein. They love their chicken, fish, but their mother-in-laws don't let them eat them. Garam hai, khao mat, abortion ho jayega. Another problem is constipation is a major issue. High protein diets cause constipation. Lot of times they are advised not to bear down, and therefore they avoid eating it. So therefore, finding recipe and ensuring protein in each meal, including snacks. Snack is poha, upma, and sandwich. There is no protein in it. Then again, fat intake is very important. Again, limit saturated fat. I am telling this folded hands, because all Indian women are fed ghee to no extent, and that increases insulin resistance. So try not to give them those kind of things. We want these kind of good fats, which are nuts and seeds. Again, not given to pregnant women, because garam hota hai, abortion ho jayega. So try to include a lot of nuts and oil seeds in their diet. Fiber is very important, especially to maintain glycemia, weight, and very good for laxation, because constipation is a big issue in pregnant women. Fruit consumption is very important, and that has been shown. This is data from Indian Mother, and it has been shown that nutrient-rich fruits like guava and all are associated with better gestational weight gain. Even dairy consumption, and this is a very important thing, that green leafy vegetable consumption is actually associated with fetal weight rather than all other nutrients. Last two slides, I can see Dr. Thanawala getting uncomfortable, but I'm not going to let this slide go. This is something that I want you all to understand and emphasize. Nutritional diversity. Nutritional biodiversity focuses on diversity of organism, nutritional consumption or intake. This is a big problem in India, my dear friends. When you talk to patients, "Aap kya khate ho?" Roti, chawal. So out of the whole cereal group, two cereals. कौन सी सब्जी खाते हो? भिंडी, गोभी, पत्ता गोभी, French beans. So out of all vegetables, four vegetables. Eat greens, yes. कौन से? पालक और मेथी. Khatam. So what happens is there is no diversity in eating. In nutritional biodiversity encourages consumption of about 10 to 15 different green leafy vegetables over a period of fortnight rather than the same green leafy vegetable every day for the same period. This extends for all types of fruits and vegetables, and this is what will cause epigenetic changes which are good for your fetus, because all these butyrates, omega-3 fatty acids will come only when your diets are diverse. Now, what is diversity? Do you eat green vegetables, palak or methi versus सब खाओ? भाजी वाला सब कुछ बेचता है. You have to just go buy and cook it. If you can't cook it, have a maid to cook it. But please eat, because what amaranth can give, spinach can never give. Ambadi ka bhaji, which is this one, has the highest micronutrient content among the whole vegetarian family. Only 1.1% of Indians eat this bhaji. This is native to Maharashtra. Please eat it. It has the highest amount of micronutrients in known. So try to eat different vegetables. An apple a day keeps doctor away. And what about other fruits? They don't keep doctor away. Please try to eat other fruits like guavas, berries, bor, jamun, all these amrak, imli, these are better kind of fruit. I am not saying apple is bad, but other fruits are as important. Avla is in season. So please try to eat this. This is not only to show in movies that a woman is pregnant and she is eating avla. It should be eaten in real life also. So good food habits are: food should be made at home, low amount in salt, sugar, and fat. Eat to live, don't live to eat. So avoid overindulgence, mindfulness, food myths. Ghee is healthy, juice is good for health. Please leave this and enjoy ghar ka khana, soups, chas. So instead of badai ho with laddu, badai ho can also be with a lot of nuts. Chana shengdana, it can also be with fruit. So this is something that we want. This is something I always show. Try to partition your plate and eat different kinds. So ghar ka khana is the best meal plan. There is no better meal plan than ghar ka khana for two proteins. Eat one carbohydrate and two vegetables. That's a simple hisab. Do protein, do fiber, one carbohydrate. Very, very simple. And limit sources of sodium. I just showed it because all movies also show pregnant women eating achar. So try not to have achar, papad. I'm not saying never have it. If hypertension is a problem, never have it. If hypertension is not a problem, don't invite it. And all salts are same. So try not to say कि ये सेंधा नमक में बना है, काला नमक में बना है, पीला नमक में बना है. Namak is namak. It doesn't matter where it's from. So conclusion: diet comes from the word diete, means way of living. Follow the diet, which is the way of life, not a fad. Don't follow it for 15 days and not follow it for 2 years. Pre and during pregnancy, quality of diet is more important than quantity of diet. Nutritional diversity include foods from all groups, various kinds within group, ensures adequacy, not amount of food. Eat for two is a passe. Just eat well. Thank you so much for a patient hearing.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. You make it so good and so interesting. Half the way to the lecture, I was thinking, oh my God, now every patient I have to refer for diet to Shilpa. But by the end of it, I thought, okay, maybe I will be able to tell what Shilpa is telling in simple words to my patients. And it was an amazing lecture. Thank you so much for clarifying so many doubts and any so many healthy inputs and healthy diet. I think I think it's very important that we don't go too harsh on the patient, but at the same time, give them something, something, because we as doctors say, oh, slight rise in blood pressure, no salt. and then little rise in blood sugar, control your sugar, do away with the sugar. But I think patient needs some variety, and I think you do it very well by telling us all this. And I think a dietitian's advice is very important in